Good morning, guys. It's Thursday, April 1st. Your bell work for today. Continue working on your countdown to star. Our central question is what happens to organisms if their food web or food chain changes? Objective, I can describe the flow of energy through a food chain or food web. I will be able to describe what a producer, consumer, and decomposer is. So your vocab for this week is due April 6th. Your weekly assessment is also on April 6th. Again, your words are food chain, a path of energy transfer in a community, producer, an organism that makes its own food, example plant, consumer, an organism that gets food by eating other organisms, cannot make its own food, herbivore, consumer that eats only plants, carnivore, consumer that eats only animals, omnivore, consumer that eats both plants and animals. Decomposer, an organism in the food chain that breaks down the remains of dead organisms, example earthworm. Food web, a series of overlapping food chains. So make sure to complete your vocab homework on Schoology and submit that. Okay, let's practice. How many producers are in this food web? So let's take a look. Producers would be these plants here. How many organisms depend on the frog as food? So let's find our frog. How many of these organisms depend on the frog as food? So that means we have to look at the animals where the arrows are going out from the frog. So that means the owl eats the frog and the snake eats the frog. So they depend on the frog as their food source. Number 3, how many organisms depend on the rabbit as food? So our rabbit is over here. Let's see how many arrows point away from our rabbit. So we have a snake and we have a fox. They rely on the rabbit as a food source. Number 4, which organism eats the greatest variety? So which organism eats the greatest and most variety of food? So let's look at the animal, find the animal that has the most arrows pointing towards it, which means that they're eating it. So we have our fox, which eats mice, rabbits, and squirrels. So that has the greatest variety of food. Your activity for today, the directions are, look at the picture at the top of the worksheet, this food chain right here. Decide whether each organism in the food web is a producer or consumer. Do not include the mushroom. Type the name of the organism in the producer or consumer column on the Google assessment. After deciding if the organism is a producer or consumer, now decide if it is a herbivore, carnivore, omnivore, decomposer, or scavenger. You may include the mushroom in this. Type the name of the organism in the proper column. So on your Google assignment on Schoology, you're going to see these instructions again, and you are going to type the name of the animal or organism in this food chain and put it in their correct column. So, ruffed grouse eat leaves, buds, and flowers of trees such as quaking aspen, birch, and black cherry trees. Where do grouse live? Ruffled grouse live in deciduous forests. These forests contain trees that have leaves which bud in the spring, flower in the summer, and drop off in the fall. Most marmots are highly social and use loud whistles to communicate with one another, especially when alarmed. Marmots mainly eat greens and many types of grasses, berries, lichens, mosses, roots, and flowers, and insects. These are your answers that you can check after you complete your Google assessment on Schoology. These are your answers of the correct categorizing of your organisms and animals. So here's our food chain activity. On the Google assignment, you will find a slide with a food chain that you are going to use to create a food chain. On slide 3, you will find the actual pictures you will be using. Directions: create a food chain using the organism pictures. You will need to click on the organism picture that you're going to use. When you click on it, you will need to copy it and then paste it. Copy and then paste the picture in the food chain where you want it to go. Remember to pay attention to the direction of each arrow. That means the flow of energy. Number 2, you will use your food chain to answer the questions at the bottom of the slide. So this is the food chain that you will be using. You will be using the pictures and inserting them, making sure that you follow the flow of the arrows and answer the 3 questions at the bottom. All right, guys, that's our activity and lesson for today. Have a good day.